Your clients might often not try to lie to you as much as they're trying to save face, right, for themselves. It's about education for your clients. They have not been through this. You've been through this countless times. Your situation for your client is very different. You're trying to get the transaction done with the least amount of potholes. You're just trying to drive down the road to get from point A to point B. And the more things that get thrown in the way, trees falling, storms coming into play, finance officers walking or rocking in front of you in the street, these are the kind of things that slow you down. So remember, your primary focus is to educate your client always. They may just simply be unaware of how their behavior is coming across. So go back to why building that rapport is important that we talked about in the beginning. It's important for your client just as much as it's vital for you, like taking a shower before you go and show a house, making sure that you actually show a property before you launch into a contract, or at least have a virtual showing. I can give you a quick example on this one too, right? A woman was interested in purchasing a very small 1-bedroom condo. She was incredibly guarded, didn't give me a whole lot of information, but wanted to help her find a home. And in this market, you don't pass a single client up, right? We don't have a line out the door for clients like we've had in the COVID market that spoiled the hell out of us. In this case, every single client's important. You need to try to do the vetting as much as possible. But ultimately, one day she gets a call from one of the kids. I didn't even know she had family, didn't matter, but come to find out, she's letting me know that she's looking to leave her husband, and now she needs to leave him off the deed of the condo that we're putting into play. She's trusting me to keep it quiet. She's trusting me for some agent-client privilege that doesn't necessarily exist in a transaction profile that we have together. So it was difficult. It was maybe setting the expectation, and what I could have done differently was, hey, I realized that this is a big transaction for you. And if we're going to have a relationship while we're going through it, your honesty and telling me as much as you're comfortable with, and sometimes a few things you're not, are going to help me drive the conversation the right way and keep you on the right track as a client. If you're going through some difficult things, you got some bad lien out there that's following you. You got some bad debt out there that's going to put you in a position. You went and bought a brand new car before you're trying to buy this house, and the finance agent is killing you over it. These are the kind of things that you kind of want to know. So you don't find out at the closing table, and worse, you don't find out when you're in the middle of money changing hands and things just blow up. So inconsistencies and contradictions are the biggest things for communication. And simply don't get into a battle over, well, that's not what you told me yesterday. Well, that's not what you told me last week. You've got to be able to spin, put your sales hat on. You've got to be able to positively spin their change in story or their change in situation to get you what you need. And hear what I'm saying there. The entire transaction process is about you as the agent getting what you need to get things complete functionally from end to end. You know the process. That's easy. Manipulating and driving a client situation through that and negotiating with other agent and potentially other agents on the other side of the table are difficult. There's no way your clients are going to understand the difference between things like pre-qualifications and pre-approval. It's easy to explain. It's easy to help your client understand it, but you've got to make the conversation happen. The difference is hearing between stories when you're asking one question, and the contradictions are going to throw natural red flags for you, right? Your new buyers say they're moving cities because of a job, but as it turns out, they started sending you homes to view in the next neighborhood over. So now you got to find out why they're giving you some new excuse. Maybe you don't have a lying client. Maybe just a client that just doesn't have it together or can't really decide where they want to live or how they want to live or what the situation is, or this is a huge change of life for them. So don't be afraid to have direct and open conversations, but for God's sakes, don't scare off your client by being aggressive. The aggressive nature behind conversations or the constantly pushing that we do as agents sometimes gets in the way because we need the speed. We need to be able to get this completed to move on to the next client. Their situation is very personal. They're only dealing with you. You want them to only be dealing with you. And if they're getting a whole lot of feedback from a whole lot of people It's going to cause contradiction for them. But don't be afraid to have these wide open conversations. If you're seeing that the stories are changing, you feel like you're getting excuses from your client, it's time to talk. Reset the expectations versus what the reality of their situation is. Let them know that you've got to understand the entire under the covers conversation to serve them best. Referrals are probably the worst in this situation, by the way. You might snag a great listing because it was referred to you, but you still got another family, or you've still got some other things getting in the way. You'll write up paperwork. Hell, you'll even get signatures, but you're waiting for other people to be involved before they'll work, before they'll get the house cleaned up, before they're able to get their stuff moved out and get the house staged. We've had situations to where we've gotten a listing contract and it takes them literally months to get all of the necessary repairs done before we'll even put it on the market, because for us, it's a statistics challenge. We want to make sure that we get it on the market fast. It's not on the market, delay before we can even do a showing. The clock's ticking, and then by the time you've got the first people in the door to view it, you're now fighting against, hey, why has this been on the market for 60 days? What's going on with the property? And then, of course, we go back to vague responses. Listen, the real estate industry moves crazy fast, guys. Interest rates are a conversation. Home availability changes almost daily. We as agents don't have time for vagueness. The veiled communication drives us nuts. Feel like you're getting the runaround with your client, just ask them why. But when they give you a reason, you need to support the reason. Their direct answer may still have some gaps for you. Probe, but don't go crazy. Don't put them in a situation to where you're the grand inquisitor and they've got to feel uncomfortable about every time you call, because what are you going to talk about next? Nobody certainly likes being ignored, and they don't like being given the cold shoulder. But if you start to experience this from your client, it could be because you're doing it. Could be because you're pushing your clients to feel uncomfortable every single time they talk to you. And that's either going to lose the client, or it's going to blow up the deal altogether, and they're just going to wait it out. So make your questioning just a little softer. Hey, are things going on outside the conversation or outside the transaction that are causing problems? Are you feeling okay about the changes, the speed at which we're working at? Do you feel okay about the house selection process? And how's the financing treating you? Things like that. But keep those part of your weekly check-ins. You should be doing that no less than once a week when you're talking to any of your current business stack. If you're feeling them pull away, or you're not feeling the appropriate responses, etc., just remember they have all kinds of reasons for being guarded and not giving you all kinds of answers that you're expecting. It's no different than the client that's just regurgitating answers all over you, and you've got a ton of information and none of it makes sense, right? It's a very similar situation. So your job is to just get what you need to get through the process with the least amount of potholes and the least amount of detours along the way. Your professionalism and your ethics. And I want to close with this. This is incredibly important. While you want to trust your intuition, Scooby-Doo gang, please ensure you're respectful of others, potentially their cultures, potentially their traditions, and most importantly, the things they're going through. There is a need behind why they want to buy a house or why they need to sell their house, and they may not feel like it's your business. I don't want you to jump in there and be too trusting, but again, you have an expectation to get from point A to point B. It's okay for you to ask for those things and to set the impression of when you need those things by. Don't assume anything based on your client's appearance, dress, speech patterns, whether or not they know the industry, whether or not they have experience. Sometimes it's better just to shrug off a lot of these conversations rather than you get hung up on what you think could have been a lie from your client today. And if you think you've spotted one, just ask for some clarification. It's okay. And of course, it's important to keep your safety as a real estate agent in mind. You never want it to get, one overly aggressive and things get contentious and difficult when you're on the phone. Just on the other side, don't be too trusting. Remember, you need to avoid being alone in houses by yourself. You need to be careful where you're showing homes by yourself and with a client that you don't know. You need to understand that if you're meeting clients for the first time, you're bringing all of your realtor safety information. Gentlemen, we're big guys. We have to occasionally swallow our pride and understand that we don't know this client from Adam, and bad things happen to good people. If you feel like you need an echo response, if you feel like you need to play the, hey, just a second, I got Bill on the other line real quick. He's just checking in to see how things are going. It's okay for you to do that right in front of this client you don't know, so that they know somebody's looking out for you. Somebody knows where you are, and somebody might want to know, talk to you again in 10 minutes to see how things are going. Please be careful about any of those things, by the way. If you feel like you're in a point where you need that level of safety, maybe the second thought is to make sure you don't go by yourself. We never want to put our clients in a situation where they're uncomfortable, and we never want to be in a situation where we feel like we aren't in a safe space either. So when you're being respectful to their cultures and their traditions, remember, they're not taking this class with me today. They're not paying attention to what your thoughts might be. They might be hearing discrepancies in what you told them today and what you told them a couple of days ago. Maybe they think you're lying. They may not trust your background or your culture or who you seem to be as a person, or what you drove up in, or whether or not you dressed appropriately when you showed up for the appointment today. The wife might like you, the husband may not, and vice versa. The family has a bad feeling about you, but the client seems to be okay. You're fighting impressions. You're fighting honesty. You're fighting disclosure. Make sure you're giving people plenty of opportunity to talk to you. Make sure you're giving them plenty of opportunity to explain. But most importantly, keep it between the lines. You have a road that you have to get down from point A to point B. The things that are important to you may not be important to them. The things that they need to tell you might have a backstory that is preventing them from being open and honest with you. It's their right to conceal certain informations. It's your right to ask for everything that you need to have a successful transaction. This field and sales in general can make you a little bit jaded. It's important for you guys to remember that as professionals, you should never assume bad intent on the part of a client or another agent or someone that you're working with. Even if you feel like you've caught them in a lie, it's okay for you to keep it to yourself. Whether you prove it or not isn't even important. When you get the job done with the information that you have, you're never truly going to know what the other person's intentions or what their situation is. As the motivational speaker Dennis Watley once said, expect the best, plan for the worst, prepare to be surprised. There's a lot of techniques out there that we didn't cover today. There's a lot of expectations when you're with your clients that we don't have time to cover in 45 minutes to an hour every week. Use your best judgment, be intelligent. And if you're questioning yourself or you're questioning your client's intent, pick a partner inside of the organization. Find someone else here in Keystone to just kind of give your side of the story to. See if they can give you another perspective on how to get what you need. Really appreciate each and every one of you today. It's a beautiful day today. I've got some showings that I have planned for the morning, and hopefully you've got business to attend to as well. I'll be available for you if you need, so don't be afraid to reach out. Be safe out there, and appreciate everybody joining. Have a great day, team.